So let us start today's session and we'll directly go with one program. Normally to develop a servlet application, it can be done in two ways. One is manually deploying the application into server, or there's first one, or directly using IDE. So we'll learn first way, that is this one, manual way. So to do manual way, as I said yesterday, we need to maintain certain directory structure. Certain directory structure is required for developing web application. Now question comes like why we need to maintain this directory structure. This directory structure is required because the Tomcat, our server is looking for certain directory structure. So if we are not maintaining this kind of directory structure, our application is not recognizable. That is the reason we are maintaining the directory structure. And I just want to repeat directory structure because ultimately total it depends on directory structure only. So first thing, we have some web application, or in simple I'll write app1. That is nothing but my application name. Inside this application, it has one folder, very important folder, and name of the folder must be as it is, that is in capital letter web hyphen inf. Inside web inf, it has a folder called as classes folder. And again in classes folder, you have your servlet. Let us say some Java file, and name of my Java file is 1.java. That means my servlet I have saved with 1.java. And it also has one more file. You can keep .java file, it is optional, but mandatory file is .class file. So you need to compile this file and you need to keep one .class file, that is one.class. So one.class file is mandatory to keep in classes folder, and this file is optional. Going ahead, in webinf you have one folder called as library. So there is one simple folder, that is library. Let us imagine I am connecting to MySQL or Oracle. So it requires some library files. So those library files I need to keep in this library folder. So for now, let us assume I am connecting to MySQL. So if I am connecting to MySQL, I need to keep some jar file. So that jar file name will be something like this. Or if I am connecting to Oracle, I need to keep this jar file, that is ojdbc14.jar or mysql.jar. So this is regarding library folder. There is one last file which is also present in webinf, and that file is called as web.xml. web.xml. So total classes folder, library folder, and web.xml are present in web.inf. And if you have any HTML files, these HTML files are directly placed in the application directory, and here are nothing but your HTML files. And if you have any images, as said yesterday, you can keep your images directly in the application folder. So this is a directory structure we need to maintain, because Tomcat first it is looking for this type of directory structure, then it is starting execution. Any doubt in this, Sandeep?
No.
Okay, fine, perfect. Let us go with one application, but I want to talk something about this web.xml first. Let us start our discussion with web.xml first initially. See, now we have knowledge of directory structure and we know why we are maintaining directory structure. So let us talk about web.xml now. And though it is a small file, but it is very important, and it is called as deployment descriptor. Deployment descriptor, or some people also say it as configuration file. Configuration file. And what we have in this configuration file is, it consists of mappings of servlet. If you did not understand with the term mappings of servlet, let me explain this, because this file is very important. Let us imagine I have one server, and I have one client. This is nothing but my client. And inside server, I have something called as container. Container is nothing but which is maintaining all the life cycle of servlet. So normally we call it as servlet container. In server we have servlet container. Inside container we have all the servlets. Now, if you observe carefully, in a project there can be 100 servlets, multiple servlets. I mean to say there can be multiple servlets. So I have one servlet 1. Likewise, I have servlet 2, and I have servlet 3. Let us imagine this servlet is performing, or it is used for login operation, and this servlet is used for registration operation, and at last let us imagine this servlet is used for logout operation. So client is requesting. So whenever request is given, as I said, request is given in the form of an object. If you remember, I have one object. So request is given in request object. So this object is taken to server. Now problem is there are totally 3 servlets, but I have requested for login option. As a programmer, I know like I have requested for login operation, but container it is not aware like which servlet it has to go. So what it will do is, container first it will read a file called as web.xml. So this client is requesting the server and server is reading web.xml first, and depending upon the mapping, it is going to this servlet that is nothing but servlet 1. Meaning this web.xml, it contains configuration. It contains configurations. So client is requesting server, server is reading first file that is web.xml, and depending upon the configuration, it is calling servlet 1. Sorry. So at least you got some part of idea, I guess. Let me show the entire
Yes.
thing. Yeah. Let me show the entire thing in terms of one program. Okay. And I'll also discuss with this web.xml in that. So now our target is something like this. I have one file. That file name is nothing but index.html, and I have one servlet. This is nothing but my servlet file. And on browser, I want to display this is nothing but my browser or output. So index.html, it is having one button. That button name is say hello. And if we click on this button, it calls for the servlet. That is, it requests the servlet. And inside this servlet, we are writing code to print hello. And ultimately, the servlet prints hello on browser. So this is what we required. So first our concentration will be on this file, that is index dot, not XML, sorry, that is HTML. Okay, because we require HTML file. So this is HTML. So HTML is calling servlet. Servlet again, it is printing output on browser, that is hello. Let us check this.
Akash, we're recording the session, right?
Yeah, I'm recording the session.
Okay, okay.
So have Tomcat here, and as I said yesterday, in web apps, all the projects, all the applications are there, and I have named my application as one dot my first servlet. So as usual, we are maintaining the directory structure inside my main application. I have two files. One is HTML file, and I have one more file that is webinf. Inside webinf, I have classes, library, web.xml, as I have shown in diagram. In classes, I have .java file and .class file. This .java and .class. I need to compile this and I need to keep here. Library, right now, I'm not connecting with anything. That is the reason my folder is empty. And I have one deployment descriptor file, that is web.xml. I'll show what is the configuration done here. But before that, let me talk about this index.html. So little bit of HTML is required for this. I have written HTML form action. Just I want to create a simple thing, that is a button. So this index.html, I need to create one button, and in order to create that button, I need a tag called as form tag. So form action I have written my first, input type is equal to submit, and value is nothing but say hello. This value is because of to print on button. And when I click on this index.html, this button, we need to just look at the action part. So where it is going for my first. I'll show where this my first is. So what I'm trying to tell is whenever I click on button, it goes for my first. So this my first is called as, simply it is called as URL pattern. So that my first is called as URL pattern. I hope HTML is fine, Sandeep.
Yes, yes. I have idea.
Okay, okay. So next part we are going for classes. In classes folder I'm going for my servlet. As said yesterday, to create a simple HTML, simple servlet file, what we need to do is we need to create a class implementing an interface called as servlet interface. And total 5 methods are there in this servlet interface. I'll just write down in short form, that is init method, one of the lifecycle method, service method, and I have one more method called as destroy method, get servlet config, one more method, and one last method is nothing but get servlet info. Why we need to remember this total 5 methods? Reason is whenever I'm creating a class by implementing servlet, rule of interface says I need to override all the methods of that interface. So total 5 methods are there. Even though I'm using or not using, I need to override total 5 methods. Going back to my program, I've written java.io because IO exception is coming from this, and two imports. Yesterday I said for servlets, one is javax.servlet, another one is javax.servlet.http. So http concept we are not discussing right now. So we are importing only javax.servlet. Reason for this import is servlet interface is coming from this import statement, that is line number 2. I'm writing public class my servlet, that is my class name, implements servlet interface. Initially I'm writing servlet config object I am pointing to null. Why we are using this config object? Reason is in init method it is expecting config object. So public void init servlet config, some reference, not only config, it can be anything. So I'm assigning this config to the global config, that is this one. So I have written this dot config is equal to config. Reason for this one is my global variable and my local variable, both the names are same. That is the reason I have differentiated by using this dot config is equal to config. This method is of no use because I did not write any code in this. But though I'm not using, I need to override this one. My main method, I mean to say my important method, is nothing but service method. Because printing hello, the logic of hello I need to write in service method only. So I have written here public void service, 2 parameters is expecting, and always it will be only 2 parameters. Servlet request, I've given some name, servlet response, res, meaning req is nothing but object, request object, and this is nothing but response object. And service method, we need to remember it throws 2 exceptions. So I have written throws IO exception, servlet exception. I'm writing system.out.println. So whenever I'm writing system.out.println, it is not printing on browser, it is printing on console. Now question comes, what is this console? So console is nothing but my Tomcat console, not normal console, Tomcat console. I'll show that one. So it prints in service method. This line is just to inform that we are printing on browser and we are printing only text. See, to print on browser, we can print a image, we can print a PDF, or we can draw an image. So to print a normal text, we are writing text or image. If I am not writing, then also it is a default. It is response dot set content type. I'm just informing the browser that I want to print text or some HTML form. If I'm not writing, this is the default. Now I'm writing print writer out is equal to response dot get writer. Yesterday I have said to print on browser, I need to take the help of object of print writer. So object of print writer is nothing but out here. So out dot println or print I can use. So I'm writing print. I have written HTML. I have started with my HTML coding. HTML body bold tag, and inside bold tag I want to print hello world. My bold tag close, my body close, my HTML close. So this is nothing but my printing logic, and to print on browser I need to take the print writer object. So service method logic is this one, and this is only our important method here. But still, as I said, I need to override init. We have overridden init service, and we need to again override total 3 methods. Destroy. I've written something. Sometimes your question may be, sir, what we need to write in this? So you can write anything because we are not concerned about any other methods except service. So I'm writing public servlet config get servlet config. That is nothing but my method name. So it is expecting a return type servlet config object. So I'm written system.out.println something, and I'm returning config. Now question is, what is this config? Config is nothing but this one. Last method public string get servlet info. Return type is string, so I'm returning hello, which is nothing but a string. This is nothing but my servlet file, and I'm saving with myservlet.java. Here it is. After saving, I've only compiled. So we know how to compile. Just open our command prompt and compile by using java c space my program name.java. We'll get the .class file. I need to keep in classes folder. After doing so, we need to make configuration in web.xml. What are those configuration? I'll show. First, let me show the output. To show the output, one question. Any doubt you have in servlet file, Sandeep? Anything you want to ask? Or it's fine?
No, not. It's good.
Okay, okay, fine.
Hello?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. So I'm going back, I'm starting my server. So this is my new Tomcat. I have to start this server, I need to go for bin. Inside bin, I have the service runner file, that is Tomcat 7. Open this file, click on yes. As you can see, we need to look for this message server startup in so and so seconds. Okay, and yesterday, as I said, HTTP my port number is 2013. Just minimize this one and go for browser, and you can write here the request URL localhost colon 2013. Click on enter. This page will come only if my server is started. Click on manager app. admin, and I need to look for my first servlet, and yesterday as I said it must be true. So it is true. Click on my first servlet. Whenever I click on my first servlet, it is looking for one file. That file is nothing but index.html. So by default it is looking for one file with name index. That is the reason I have given the file name as index. So first file of any application, any website is nothing but index. So let me click on that. As we have developed our index.html with some button, and when I click on this button, it goes for servlet, and this servlet is printing hello on browser. So it is printing hello world, okay, on browser. But in my servlet, that is here, I have written init method. In init method, I have written in init method, this one. So it is getting printed on console of Tomcat. This is nothing but console of Tomcat. So in init method, it is printed here. And after that, in service method, it is printing here. And whenever I close my servlet, my application, so it is going to destroy method, that is in destroy method. Now let me minimize. Let me go back to my browser. I'm clicking back. Again, I'm requesting same thing by clicking on say hello. So hello world is printed. What I'm trying to do is I just want to show how many times init method is called, how many times destroy method is called, and how many times service method is called. So we know service method is called for every request. If 100 requests are given, 100 times service method is called, but only once init method is called and only once destroy method is called. So as you can see, init method is called only once, that is initially, that was before, and service method has called two times because first time I have requested and second time I have went for back button, and again I have requested the same by clicking say hello. Destroy method, it will be called only once when I close my application. Now let me minimize this and let me tell few things about web.xml. If you observe my index.html, I want to highlight this word, that is my first. So my first is called as URL pattern. So whenever I am passing a request, that is whenever from HTML this file, I'm clicking on this say hello, observe the URL, it is going for my first because in HTML I have written my first. So it is searching for this URL pattern, that is my first, in a file called as our webinf inside this web.xml. So it is searching for that URL pattern in this file. So in this file I have made configurations. So how to make configuration? These are nothing but predefined tags. To make configuration, I need to write web app. As it is, we need to write web app close, servlet. Servlet. I need to write servlet name. I've written first. It can be anything. I can write anything. Okay. Any name I can write. Servlet name. It can be anything. That is like nickname. Servlet class. Servlet class. And as you can see, my servlet class name is nothing but my servlet. So I need to write same class name. And I have closing of this servlet tag. So total two tags are there inside servlet tag, servlet name and servlet class, and servlet close. After that I have servlet mapping tag, in which again two tags are there. One tag is repeated, that is servlet name. And servlet name, whatever I have written here, and servlet name, whatever I am writing here, it must be same. That is first and first. At last comes URL pattern. So this URL pattern is nothing but I have written slash is required here, and I'm writing my first. Reason why I'm writing my first is in HTML file, whatever I'm writing, that I need to configure here. And at last I have servlet mapping close and I have web app close. So let us understand how it is working. This file is very important, and let us see how it is working, what is happening internally. Let us imagine first time I have requested this form, that is my application, and I have clicked on button. Whenever I click on button, it will first go to index file, that is my HTML file. It will look for action. In action part, the URL pattern is my first. Again it is searching web.xml. So it is searching for URL pattern. Here the URL pattern tag is there. So what it will do is it will search for my first. My first is matched with my first. If appropriate matching is there, then it will go for the servlet name, that is nickname or any alias name. So here alias name is as first. So this first is matched with corresponding alias name, that is the top one, and related servlet it will search, that is my servlet. So ultimately it has to go to my servlet. So my servlet, it goes into this Java file, and it start executing init method once, and just after init it is executing service method. That is the reason you are getting hello world, and when you are closing your application it will print in destroy method. So this is like life cycle of total servlet, and in which this file is very important, that is web.xml. Any problem or any mistake you have in web.xml, how you can guess is, if you have any mistake in web.xml, here in this Tomcat manager window, you will have, instead of true, you will have false. So that is one hint, that is web.xml in your application is having error. Any doubt in first application, Sandeep?
No.
Okay, fine.
So what happened yesterday? You said we're gonna use it. Are we using a different Tomcat?
No,
Tomcat?
no, actually, what happened yesterday is I have I have migrated my system from 64-bit to 32-bit, and this .java file, that is this file was compiled in 64-bit configuration, and I did not compile yesterday again. So that was one issue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And let us start our second application. Let me talk about this
Okay.
form. So I have login form. Directory structure as it is, we need to maintain. I have again index.html. I have webinf. Inside webinf, I have classes. Library file I did not write because I'm not using right now. So I need to create one more folder, library folder, and I have web.xml. Now we are habituated because this is second application. In classes folder, I have two, that is one .last file, and again another one is login servlet. What is the requirement? Requirement in this is very simple. We are going to develop one login form, and in this login form we have normally a username and I have a password. This is my username and this is nothing but my password, and I have one button. Button label can be anything, that is whatever written on button, it can be anything. So I'm writing submit, login or sign in, whatever. And when I click on this login form, it has to trigger a servlet file. That servlet I have written as login servlet.java. So inside this I've written one code to check username. Username, it must be equal to some techie. Password, it must be equal to hub. So whatever username I'm entering, that must be equal to techie, and password, it must be equal to hub. If it is same, then on browser, that is my output screen, I want to print something that is valid. In case user has entered other than techie and hub, then in that case I'm printing invalid. See, what we are learning in this total entire application is how to read this box, because first we need to fetch whatever user has entered, and we need to fetch whatever user has entered in password field as well. After that, after fetching this two boxes value, I need to check, or I need to compare the fetched value along with techie, the fetched value from password field along with hub. Depending upon my comparison, if it is same, I need to print valid, else invalid. So request is given to Java. Depending upon, I'm printing valid, invalid. Now question comes, how to read this box value. For that, we need to go back to same point. See, whenever request is given, along with request, there is one object created. Initially, one object is created, that is nothing but request object. So let us imagine here I am writing ABC, and in this field I am writing XYZ. So user has entered ABC and password he has entered XYZ. So these two fields are going along with this object, that is ABC and XYZ. But they are going along with one name. That name is nothing but this box name. Let us say this box name is uname, and this box name is nothing but some PWD. So they are going in this way. Uname equal to ABC and PWD equal to XYZ. What I'm trying to tell is, while creating my login form, I've written input type is equal to text, name is equal to uname. So this box name, I'm assuming it as uname. And depending upon this uname, we are going to fetch this ABC. So in servlet, I need to write one line, request dot, I have a method, get parameter, request dot get parameter, and I want to get the parameter from this box, and the box name, that is text field name, is nothing but uname. And get parameter always return string, so I'm writing string, let us say n is equal to, so whatever value present in uname, it comes into n by this line. In the same way, I'm writing request dot get parameter of pwd. So what it will do is it will fetch the xyz in p. Now in my servlet I have abc in n, inside p I have xyz. So depending upon my comparison, I'll say invalid and valid. I will print on browser. I guess you understood the requirement of the application, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So let us go back. In web app, I have index. Let me open this. I have HTML center, fine. Form action will come to this. I have username, input type is equal to text, and the name is equal to, I have written F1. In my diagram, I have used uname. In my application, I have used F1. So we need to fetch from F1. So request.get parameter of F1, request.get parameter of F2. I have two fields. Normally, while creating password, we'll be writing input type is equal to password. I have written text, no problem. Input type is equal to submit for button, and value of that button, label of that button is nothing but login. In this total file, our important concentration is login. That is this one. This is called as URL pattern, and whenever I click on button, it is searching for that URL pattern in web.xml. Let me open webinf inside that web.xml. Web app I have servlet, servlet close, servlet name. I've written hello. I said it can be anything. Name can be anything, but whatever I'm writing here, I need to write in the lower part also. Same thing. I'm writing servlet class. Servlet class must be same what I have written in classes folder. So login servlet. So my class name is login servlet. Servlet mapping, servlet name, URL pattern. URL pattern must be same login, which is as similar to this. Login first, whenever button is clicked, it is searching for login. So it is coming here, and it is going for alias name. So alias name is hello. This hello is matched with this hello, and ultimately it is searching for this servlet, login servlet, and this servlet dot class file it is able to find out here. And when I open this, sorry, I have same thing. Imports, we are not concerned now. We are writing public class login servlet name must be same. Implements, I'm implementing servlet file. And as I said, whenever I'm implementing the servlet, I need to override total 5 methods. Init method, same copy paste of first application. Destroy method, same. Servlet config, exactly same. Get servlet info, same. Here what I am trying to tell is, though I'm not overriding, though I'm not using total 5 methods, I'm using only one method, that is service, but I need to override total 5. So all the 4 methods are copy paste, and only one method I'm overriding properly, that is public void service. Two parameters are required, one is request object, one is response object. I'm writing throws servlet exception, IO exception. This 14th line, as I said, that is optional, and it is just to inform the container that we are going to print on browser in the form of text or HTML. This line is to get the print writer object. Print writer is a class. I'm getting out object. Response.getWriter is a method. Now I want to fetch whatever I'm passing here. For that, I'm writing request object. Whatever you're writing here, you need to write here request dot get parameter of f1. Now question is, what is this f1? F1 is nothing but the box username, whatever text field, this f1. This f1 and this f1 must be same. Whatever value I'm entering in f1, I'm trying to fetch in str1. Now question is, why we have written string here? The get parameter return type is nothing but string. So whatever value I'm entering in this box, it will be fetched by using get parameter in the form of string only. I'm fetching the second box value, that is f2. This f2 and this f2 must be same. So I fetched in str2 these two values. Str1 I have username, str2 I have password. Now I am checking for valid and invalid. If we know how to check or to compare strings, str1 user provided username equals, if it is equal to techie and operator, str2 user provided password equals hub. If both are equal, then I am printing valid. Else I am printing in bold invalid. This is nothing but my service method. Now let me show. This is already present in Tomcat. It is already present in web apps, and my server is also already started, so need not start again. Directly go to browser. I'll just refresh this window, and here you need to search for your application name, that is login form. Just make sure it is true. That means web.xml is perfect. Click on login form. Whenever I click on login form, it will search for index. So make sure in your application you have file name as index. Click on login form. You have index. You have username, that is f1 box. Password, that is f2 box. Here I am writing admin, admin. And as per my logic, if I click on login, it has to give invalid, because valid username is techie and hub, and I'm clicking on login, it gives me valid. Here as a developer, we need to concentrate on the URL. See the URL, observe the URL carefully now. If I click on login, till here it is nothing but your application name, but it is going for a URL pattern that is nothing but login. That is, whenever I click on button, it will search for this login. So this login is nothing but exactly this one, and it will take the parameter, that is techie and hub, by using f1 is equal to techie. So techie is going in one kind of variable. We can tell it as some parameter name. Techie is going in this f1, and hub is again going with f2. So if I'm writing request.getParameter of f1, I'm able to fetch techie. Request.getParameter of f2, I'm able to fetch hub. And after fetching and comparing in my servlet, here comparison starts and it prints valid and it's print invalid. Any doubt you have in this, Sandeep?
No.
Okay, great. So let me go for another simple concept in servlets. This is very important, and if we know this concept, almost 60% of servlet you're aware. So that much important is this concept. Now talking with generic servlet.
Okay.
Yeah, talking with this generic servlet. Generic servlet is nothing but a predefined class, and this generic servlet class is present in Java X.Servlet package. Normally, to create a servlet, what we need to do is we need to create a class implementing servlet interface. But problem here, what we have noticed in last two applications is every time I need to override init method, service method, destroy method. Likewise, I need to override total 5 methods even if I am using or not using. That is one burden to the programmer, because ultimately we need to override total 5 methods. That is the reason programmers have introduced something called as generic servlet. That is this one. Generic servlet. So generic servlet is nothing but a class, and in short it is abstract class. So in this generic servlet, it is internally implementing servlet interface. So generic servlet is again implementing servlet interface. So to create a servlet, now we can use this approach, that is our old approach, or we can extend our class by using generic servlet. Let me go in detail. Generic servlet and different ways to create a servlet. First one is you can write public class my servlet implements servlet. That is old approach. In this approach, I need to override 5 methods. Next is public class my servlet extends generic servlet. That is my present concept, and I did not tell what methods we need to override. We'll come to that. Third way is public class my servlet extends last one, that is HTTP servlet. Now observe carefully. Generic servlet is implementing servlet. HTTP servlet is a class. It is extending generic servlet. Meaning is this one, this hierarchy. HTTP servlet is again an abstract class. It is extending generic servlet. Generic servlet is again implementing a servlet interface. So this is hierarchy. So one way is I can implement servlet interface. Another one is I can extend generic servlet. Another way is I can extend HTTP servlet. We'll discuss about methods of generic servlet and HTTP servlet. But for now, these are nothing but different ways. But if someone is asking like how many ways are there, our answer should be only one, not three. I'm repeating. If any interviewer is asking like how many ways are there to create a servlet, our answer should be only one, because if you are extending generic servlet or HTTP servlet, it is nothing but implementing servlet interface indirectly. So there is only one way to create a servlet, that is implementing the servlet either directly, that is first approach, or indirectly, that is next two approaches, that is extending generic servlet or HTTP servlet.
Okay.
Yeah. Now see this. To develop a web application, it becomes hectic to override all the 5 methods of servlet interface. As I said, burden of the programmer is more by implementing servlet interface. Hence, a programmer can make use of one class, that is class is generic servlet class. And generic servlet is an adapter class. I'll come to this. What is it, adapter class? And which provides basic implementation for all the methods of servlet except one method, that is service method. And we'll discuss this one. First, let me tell what is adapter class. So generic servlet, it is an adapter class. See, from last two programs, we have noticed one thing, that is burden of programmer is more because I need to override all the 5 methods. So adapter class is a class which gives some dummy functionality for few methods, and whatever programmer is required to override, that method only he is overriding. I am coming again. Adapter class is a class which gives some basic functionality to the methods so that the programmer has option to override only the method what he is looking for. Meaning it gives some basic functionality for all the methods except one method, that is nothing but service method. So for service method it is not giving body, but for all other methods it is giving. So no need to override info, no need to override servlet config, destroy and init, but we need to override one method, that is service method. So from now our code will be something like this. Class, let us say my servlet class name is public class, my class name is add. I can write extends. This time I need to go for generic servlet, and in this class just override public void a method called as service, and it is having two parameters. I'm writing dash and dash, fine, and it has throws, same thing, IO exception, comma servlet exception. So we need to override only this method, write the entire logic in this method. No need to override init method, destroy method, and this other two also. If you want to override, you can override, but already functionality is written, so no need to override unnecessary methods. So you can write the entire code in service method if you are going for generic servlet. Now it has one more extra method, that is init method. And HTTP servlet is an abstract class, but it does not have any abstract method. We'll come to this in HTTP servlet. Now have a look. Generic servlet provides init method which is non-lifecycle init. That means generic servlet is having total two init methods. One init method, but that is lifecycle init. As generic servlet implements servlet interface, so it got lifecycle init from servlet interface. So it is having ultimately two init method. One is lifecycle init and another one is non-lifecycle, which is given by its own. Here some confusion comes normally, and this is important. So I'll tell this. Generic servlet has two init method. See, normally if I'm talking about lifecycle methods, I have init, service, destroy, and lifecycle init method will be something like this. It has one parameter. Parameter is important here. Method is okay, fine, but parameter is important. So I have one parameter called as servlet config sc, and this method is nothing but lifecycle init, which is coming from servlet interface. Why we are talking about servlet interface is Generic servlet is implementing what? Servlet interface. So servlet interface is having init service destroy get servlet info get servlet config. So from that lifecycle init is given to this generic servlet. So one lifecycle method which I have written right now, this method is coming from servlet interface. Another method you have which is its own method, its own in the sense generic servlet method. That method is non-lifecycle method, and signature of this one is public void init, and it has no parameter. Here how we need to differentiate lifecycle init and non-lifecycle is, if you have parameter as servlet config, that is lifecycle init. If you don't have anything, that means it is non-lifecycle. See here some confusion might come as a beginner, but this is very important. Non-lifecycle you have init method without parameter, lifecycle you have with parameter. In short, generic servlet is having two init methods. One is lifecycle, one is non-lifecycle. I hope this is fine, Sandeep.
Yes.
Okay, going ahead. So generic servlet also added another init method, that is non-lifecycle, which has empty body, which is non-lifecycle init method. And whatever I have discussed, I have put in slide. We can differentiate lifecycle init and non-lifecycle init. How we can differentiate? Public void init, if I have parameter, that is servlet config, it is lifecycle init. If I don't have any parameter, that means it is non-lifecycle. See why two methods are given? There might be some reason, right? So reason for that is, let me explain this. Let us say class A, public class A. Our class, whenever we are writing servlet, it must be public. Okay, there is one rule, because servlet container is looking for that class and it must be public. So public class A, and I'm writing extends extends I'll write generic servlet. Let us say I've written generic servlet there, and in this I need to override one method. That method is nothing but public void service method, and it is expecting two parameter. Let us assume these are two parameters, and I have throws servlet exception, IO exception. Fine. Now there is one option. If I want to write initialization code, installation of some variable or connection something, one option is I can override public void init method, and if I'm writing servlet config, so meaning is this method is nothing but lifecycle method. So this method is nothing but lifecycle. Or I can do one thing, rather writing this method, I can write all the installation either in this one or in this one, but writing the installation logic in this is a bad approach. Reason is this is life cycle method. Writing in init method, that is non-life cycle init, all the installation code is good approach. Reason for that is it is non-life cycle method. And when I say life cycle method, life cycle init, container, that is Tomcat container, is writing some code, predefined code. So if I am writing or overriding this method, that code is getting lost. So in short, I can make one conclusion. Whenever I need to choose non-life cycle or life cycle method in generic servlet, the best option is I need to go for non-life cycle, because if I am overriding life cycle init, there is some predefined code that is getting lost. That is the reason I need to override non-life cycle init so that that code is preserved. If I'm not overriding life cycle init, I can override non-life cycle init. I hope you got my point, right, Sandeep? Sandeep, are you there?
Yes.
Okay. So best thing if I want to override, I need to override non-life cycle init only.
Yeah.